So I had the pleasure of sitting with Craig Gass here at the Sonic Temple Festival 2019. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great, dude. This has been a first festival, so it's been kind of interesting to get the... get in the throes of everything. So has been interesting to kind of go through the first day hassles of, like, where do you go? Oh, you're supposed to go here. Wait, no, you're not.
Now, this is the first festival you've ever attended?
Yeah, last year I was supposed to go to Louder Than Life. It's not the first, festival, but, as far as media.
Okay, as media, got it.
It's a little bit different because, it's like, oh, you have to go through here. This wristband allows you these things and so forth.
Right. Gotcha.
Initially, you're not allowed to have your bag. As soon as I came in, I was like, I'm media. And they're like, doesn't matter, you have to have the clear bags. And I was like, there's all these other fuckers coming in.
Yeah.
What about them?
Yeah.
And then security over here, when I was trying to find this tent, basically sent me to System of a Down's dressing room. And then someone's like, what are you doing back here? And I was like, I don't know. I'm looking for media. And they're like,
oh, that's awesome.
So I was just like, I know I'm... It just felt like Wayne's World. It's like...
Yeah, trying to show your laminates.
Yeah, kind of. And you're like, I'm probably not supposed to be back here.
Nothing is cooler than accidentally ending up in a cool spot like System of a Down's dressing room. That's pretty awesome.
We didn't end up in it. We were basically right outside the door.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
then my wife was just like, I don't think we're supposed to be back here. It's like, definitely not. There's nothing that says media this way. It's all band shit. Banned this way or this, whatever. And I was like, we're not supposed to be back here.
You know what? You can still get away with that idea and the premise of I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just going to walk out on stage in the middle of Sugar. I mean, hey, I don't know. It's just in the middle of just a giant jam with 30,000 people in a mosh pit, and you walk out on stage. Hey, is this cool? I don't know. Is this all right?
I'll just bring my own microphone.
Yeah. Hello.
So, what do you think of Sonic Temple this year?
Oh my God. Yeah, that could work. I've definitely had comedy shows that have gotten that awkward. So.
It's kind of interesting, kind of segueing it more into the typical interviewee kind of thing. I know not Florentine. It was God damn it! Why?
Don Jameson?
No.
Brian Posehn?
He's another one that does a lot of these kind of things. No, Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer, yeah, of course.
For Metallica. So
I love Jim Brewer.
Over the many years, there have been comedians opening for metal shows and so forth. Mm-hmm. So it's not an uncommon thing. But I did see a lot of people commenting, it's weird that there's a spoken word in comedy at a metal festival or a rock festival. Do you find that a lot of people treat it weirdly, where they're like, why are you here?
That's actually everything that I'm filming with my musician friends this weekend. I'm trying to get them all on camera to say, why are you here? And I've done shows. So I opened for Metallica 15 years ago in New York City. Brewer was actually in the audience. Brewer and Rob Zombie, a bunch of super cool. Well, it was in a smaller room. It was a place that only held 1,000 people. It was called the Bowery Ballroom in New York. Yeah, and Metallica did a special one-night thing. And I remember calling Lars Ulrich, who had just recently become a big supporter of mine, and saying, hey, I heard you're doing this special event and you're performing for one night in New York, and I just want to tell you that I actually said this. If Metallica had any balls, that actually came out of my mouth. If Metallica had any balls, you would let a comedian open for you. And he called me back. I still have the message. It's just a short message. Boop. Hey man, it's Lars. I talked to James and some of the other guys, and yeah, come down, do a couple 15, 20 minutes or whatever the fuck it is you do on stage and do your thing, huh? And I got to open for Metallica, and it dawns on me when I get there, as much as I want to be cool, which is what a lot of us comedians want to do, we want to be accepted by our favorite musicians. You get there and then it dawns on you, Jesus Christ, everybody here's on coke. Why am I doing this? This makes no sense. Right. That I don't even want to see a comedian open for Metallica. If I go to a Metallica concert, I want to see Metallica, and that's it. And it dawns on you that oh my God, how am I going to do this? And you get through it. I actually came up with something that is really fucked up, which is just I walked out on stage and said, good evening, my name is Craig Gass, and I am Metallica sound man. And everybody started cheering, and I said, the band has some very important announcements tonight. And I just started making up a bunch of cool shit that was really cool, but was not happening. But it made everybody cheer, and I started making jokes. Everybody started laughing. Then I threw out another announcement. You may have heard some rumors, and it's true. Metallica is recording our first ever live album right here tonight. So I need your attention. I need your attention. There's a proper way to yell on a live album, so we need to rehearse this. and every instruction I said was so dumb and stupid, and they followed everything I said, and they laughed, and then I finally said, hey, I'm actually a comedian, please get ready for Metallica, and then I walked off stage, and nobody even knew.
Now, I would assume this is them, because they always perform in the round. Have you performed in the round like that before, like where the audience basically is all around you like that?
I performed in the round, but not in an arena. I performed in the round in comedy venues and in theaters. There's a theater that I actually grew up going to concerts at in Arizona called the Celebrity Theater. It was when I saw my first ever comedy show. I saw George Carlin there, and I actually got to perform there at the beginning of this year or last year. And I also I saw Megadeth in this theater. I saw Guns N' Roses on the Appetite for Destruction tour in this theater. It was crazy to stand on the same stage that I had gone to so many shows at. So yeah, but the short answer is yes, I've done shows in the round, but not.
I was gonna say, I know it would seem like that's a rather intimidating thing, because it's like, instead of whatever is in front of you, that's what you have to focus on.
Yeah.
It's like, they always say, like, you got to play to the cheap seats sometimes.
Right.
So if you have people behind you and you're like, oh shit, by the way, hey, looking at my back.
Yeah, but you always have to be aware of everybody around you, and I'm actually okay with that. I feel comfortable doing that because I move around a lot anyway, and I tend to, in comedy clubs, just get off the stage and just start walking around the room and doing comedy. I just feel comfortable doing that. So
something, you may not get this at all today, or in some of the interviews maybe you do. My wife and I, before we met, are big Sex and the City fans individually.
Oh, nice.
And then together it was like, all right, so we both have the entire series on DVD when that was still a thing.
Yeah.
Collecting shows on DVD, not on your iTunes library. Yep. But it was funny because when I knew I was talking to you, I was like telling my wife, because she was like, well, what do you have? I was like, do you remember the episode, the Weight Watchers episode? And then she goes, yes. And I was like, the Weight Watchers Anonymous, can't use this one because of the donut and the glazed face guy. She goes, yeah. I was like talking to him. She goes, oh, wow.
Guy who Cynthia kept coming all over his face.
Yes.
Miranda kept coming all over his face.
Yes. And I was like, so it's very funny, like when I had to explain to, because we're in an Airbnb with like 13 other people.
Nice.
And so when people were like, oh, who are you interviewing? And I was like, oh, Craig Gass. And they're like, I was like, anybody here a Sex and the City fan?
Yeah.
And they're like, I was like, glazed donut face. And they're like, oh! So it's interesting.
It's the same way I talk to my family when I go, it's me, Craig. And they go, I'm going to go Sex and the City. Remember? I did a King of Queens.
Well, and that was the other thing. I was like, you might remember him from King of Queens, and he's done some other things. But it's interesting to see you have such a wide array of things to pull from between King of Queens, Sex and the City.
Yeah.
Even doing comedy itself, and it kind of makes me wonder: is it weird to see the wide demographic potentially of who you reach over the career that you've had?
I usually know. Like women and gay men, usually, if they stop me, I have an idea they're going to say Sex in the City.
If I were to have approached you, would you have assumed I would have said that?
No, I would have. You know what? I'll tell you this, and I've told Jim Florentine and Don Jamieson this before. At Game 7 of the World Series, when the Cubs won the World Series for the first time in over 100 years, I got tickets to the game, and I'm a big sports fan, so I wanted to be there to witness history. Yeah, either way, it would have been history, whether it was the Indians or whether it was the Cubs. And I had seats that were decent. I'm upstairs above the third baseline, but as I'm walking around the stadium, I got recognized by an employee of the Indians who was a black dude. And the black dude stopped me and said, yo, wait a minute, weren't you on? And I was thinking he was going to say Family Guy, maybe King of Queens, and he goes, yo, weren't you on that metal show? And I go, shut the fuck up. You love metal? He goes, dude, I love metal. And I go, no way, who are your favorite bands? And he said, Metallica and Kiss. And I was like, dude, first of all, do you know that I opened for Metallica? Second of all, do you know about my crazy history with Gene Simmons? And we went back and forth, and that guy, while I'm talking to him, he keeps stopping because he has to scan tickets and hand out wristbands. And I said, what are those wristbands for? And he said, oh, it's we have a private club behind the home plate. It's called the Home Plate Club. Do you want a wristband? And I said, sure. And he gave me a wristband, and I ended up, from that suite, sneaking down to the third row, and I was in the third row when the Cubs won the World Series, hanging out with Bill Murray. If you see Bill Murray celebrating when the Cubs win, it's all because of Jim Florentine and Don Jamieson that I ended up hanging out with Bill Murray, because I got recognized from that metal show. So no, I would have guessed maybe that metal show if you came up to me.
It is. It's kind of funny because it's like I get a lot of people who like currently I'm wearing one of my Mariah Carey shirt.
Yeah.
Tomorrow would probably be my Janet Jackson shirt. It's I do like these artists.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's funny is like you come to these things and it's like. First of all, like I'm with my wife and a handful of friends, so it's like, what's the easiest way to stand out? Well, wear a white T-shirt first and foremost.
Yeah.
Secondly, not have it be a band T-shirt, have it be like a pop singer's T-shirt.
Fuck yeah.
And you're probably gonna stick out like a sore thumb.
Fuck yeah.
So it's like a lot of people today have come up to me like, I love your shirt, and it's like,
I love it too. It's the first thing I noticed when I walked over. I was like, fuck yeah,
well, I mean,
man.
it's got rainbows and it's got Mariah. It's basically the exact same image, but on the back, it's got it's a bootleg ass shirt I found on eBay.
Wow, that is awesome.
So it's been a thing where I just have been collecting shirts like this because it's like when I go to metal shows, I'll either wear like pop act like singers, or I'll wear rap T-shirts. Like I have a nice T-shirt I got from the show that they played a couple of months ago.
Nice.
And when I go to hip hop shows, I wear metal shirts. Yeah. So it's like whatever I'm in, I'm going to be the complete opposite of what people are seeing.
I love it.
And it throws people so much because they just look at me and they're like, "You're tattooed," so I would assume you would be wearing. Like showing up at like Ice-T shows and like going to the NWA show and everyone's like, do you listen to this? And it's like, yes. I grew up on like Yo MTV Raps and like all that stuff, and I'm originally from the East Coast, so like I grew up more initially like with 80s metal and like early hip hop.
Me too.
And so it's very weird that like people are like don't seem to think there's crossover, but it's like there totally is, and it's very amusing to me to see and kind of mindfuck people. Like today, like I was like, I hope no one asked Craig about Sex in the City. Like I hope that is on nobody's fucking radar.
Nobody had.
Because to me, this is the perfect example to pull it out at a fucking rock and metal festival where people are going to be like, so let's talk about Miranda coming on your face.
You know what? Can I tell you a really fucked up story about that?
Okay, go ahead.
And I'm assuming if you're a fan of Sex in the City, this will not be offensive to you. This is a really graphic story.
Please tell me it involves squirting.
All right, so I walk onto the set and I'm working with Cynthia Nixon. I put on...
Oh, that ball bag thing you got to wear.
No, I have to... I walk on... I put on 35 pounds to be on the show because we met at a Weight Watchers meeting.
Actually, sidetrack just for a second. Someone did ask me, because they were like, oh, he slimmed down. And I was like, I thought I had heard that he gained weight for that role, but...
Yeah, I did. I gained weight for the role, and then I get on the set, and I have a really bad self-image. I had heard rumors that the girls didn't get along with each other, so I was really nervous and thinking, like, oh, man, if they don't like each other, like, she's going to hate me. I'm so big and gassy now. Like, I had put on so much weight, and she ended up being really cool. And I said, hey, listen, I don't know how you want me to do this. My first day on the set, I had to go down on Cynthia for 19 hours, from 6 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock the next morning. They had to block it off, different shots, and then also there's multiple dates that end up in bed. So as stupid as it was, we kept filming with different sets of underwear on while I was going down on her. And she just said, you know what, just have fun, but keep your mouth right here on the inside of my thigh. And I was like, all right, let's see it. And I spent all day with my mouth on her inner thigh, but my face kept rubbing and making a lot of contact. After 4 or 5 orgasm shots, I could smell it. It wasn't a bad smell, but there was a reaction. It was like a happy smell. She was into it. And I remember it got thicker and thicker with each take, to the point when even when I was sitting up in bed and listening to the director, I could still smell it wafting up underneath my nose, and I was like, this is the greatest fucking day of my life. Like, I thought she wasn't going to like me, and she clearly doesn't hate me. And something weird happened during that day where we were making small talk. I kept trying to ask her questions to get to know her because I'm going down on her all day. My face is in her crotch, and I go, so you have a kid in real life, right? And she goes, yeah. And I go, that's cool. So are you married? And she said, no, I've been dating this guy. And I go, that's cool. How long have you guys been dating? And she said, 12 years. And I was like, you've been dating a guy for 12 years? How's that going? And she went, it's all right. That weekend, she got knocked up. 9 months later, she announced to the world, I've just had a baby, and I'm leaving my man, and I am a lesbian. And all my friends were like, dude, you turned her gay. And they all thought it was me that turned her gay. And I had to convince them, that's my baby. If it wasn't for me rubbing your mom all day, she wouldn't have run home and said, you know what, just fucking jam it and let's do it. Can you use any of this?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I'm not trying to one-up you, but to equally go to that same thing, my high school sweetheart ended up going to college. I did not. And came back. She was like, oh, do you mind if I bring my girlfriend? And I was like, sure. Thinking like, girlfriend.
My girlfriend.
And then upon hanging out, I realized like, oh, we're not dating anymore because you're a lesbian and you are now. So I was like, so there was that. Then the girl I dated right before my wife now, I ended up leaving this person to start dating my wife.
All right.
And that person is now transitioning to be a man.
Nice.
So,
all right.
You know, I think I almost qualify to be in the Hall of Fame in baseball now. I think I'm at like a, 2 for 3? So I'm at 66%.
Good for you. And here she is. Your transition wife is now Scott over here. All right. Hey, all right, Scott. She's a fry cook.
Instagram filter that everyone's using to look like Caitlyn Jenner all of a sudden?
Yeah, I saw that. That's pretty awesome. I love that.
It's very weird. I don't really talk about too many social issues, but I do find it interesting. Everyone's posting these photos of themselves as different genders, and I'm like, it's cool that we're doing this, and good laugh or whatever, and dudes are hitting on their guy friends like, oh, I would totally fucking bang you right now, or vice versa. But the weird thing is that I can't help but think of is the fact that it's like, how many trans people have been beaten up for the same thing?
For sure.
And I just kind of look at it. It's like looking at it from afar, and just like, has anyone kind of thought about that at all?
Yeah, it's a fucked up world, man. That's why we're coming out here to have fun this weekend. Just forget about life for a while, because everything outside of here is fucked up. So we're just here trying to have some fun, have some laughs, enjoy some good music this weekend.
Because obviously, you kind of dipped into your Lars impression, and, I know you have a plethora of impressions that you do. One that I find interesting, because if people don't know and they just hear it, which is typically how the impressions work when you do radio and so forth, is you're Tracy Morgan.
I love Tracy Morgan.
I wonder in today's PC culture, have you caught any shit for doing that?
Not at all. No, not at all. In fact, every time I do Shaquille O'Neal's podcast, the first thing he does is he wants me to prank call all of his friends as Tracy Morgan. And actually, I've done some Al Pacino and stuff too. But no, there's definitely no sensitivity to it. And Tracy Morgan also is not a sensitive person. So, so when you do the voice, people just can hear it. One of my all-time favorite entertainment business stories. I love a good entertainment business story. But my all-time favorite entertainment business story is an agent walked to me. I was opening for Dave Chappelle in 2001 at Caroline's. This agent walks up to me, super nervous, right before the show, Chappelle's show came out.
Right before the show?
He was doing a Monday night at Caroline's, and he was playing clips of this show. Hey, I got a new show coming out, and I want to play you a sketch. It's a blind black guy who thinks he's a member of he thinks he's white, and he's playing clips, and the clips are killing. This is going to be an amazing show. And this agent walks up to me. He's super nervous, and this agent goes, "Did you hear about that party last weekend?" And I go, "Did you hear about what?" And he goes, "You hear about the fucking party?" And I go, "What party?" And he goes, "Tracy Morgan had a party that turned into a fucking orgy." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Turned to an orgy. We're standing around with our suits on, and there's naked people fucking." And I was like, fucking? And he goes, "No, fucking, okay, fucking. And then Tracy Morgan comes around the corner, takes off all his clothes, and starts fucking everybody." And I was like, "What? When was this?" And he goes, "Last Saturday night." Right at that moment, Tracy Morgan walks around the corner. I haven't seen Tracy in probably a year, and I go, "Tracy! I heard your party was fucked up, man." And Tracy rolled over and he just started staring at me, and he went, "It was crazy. It was crazy. You know what's crazy about it, Craig? When you get off on my floor, you don't even hear nothing. You don't hear nothing at all. Then you start walking through my apartment, and you still don't hear nothing. Then you knock on my door, but you still don't hear nothing, right? And when I open the door, there's buttholes and toes everywhere." And I was like, "Buttholes and toes?" And he went, "Yeah, some of them toes were in the buttholes." And he walked out of the room. It's one of the most magical things I've ever heard in my life.
I've seen some shit working. One of my first jobs was working at a strip club.
No shit.
Strip club.
Wait, in what city?
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Okay.
And it was in the middle of, at the time, it was in the middle of the hood.
Okay.
So, seen some shit.
Did they pick up the strip club and move it to a better neighborhood?
Here's the funny thing. They actually moved it about where my parents live now. It's still in Kalamazoo. They moved it about 2 miles away from where my parents live. So it's
No shit!
It's now kind of in the middle of nowhere, but still in the city. But it was kind of fucked up.
A nice Uber ride.
I have learned from working there at such a young age, just women of all kind are beautiful.
Yeah.
But it also taught me how to hustle in weird ways.
Yeah.
Like if you're an asshole who comes in with your fucking wallet open to give me your ID or pay to get in.
Yeah.
All right, you got about $400.
Yeah.
If there's someone who actually is pretty nice to me,
Yeah.
the guy's got $400 cash.
Yeah.
And then they would go, and if they got dances or whatever, he spent money on them, they'd come and tip me out.
Yeah. Wow.
Like,
no shit.
Because we were a fully nude bar, so we served pop or soda.
Yeah.
If people would tip me, I would just crumple up, like if I had $20, I'd grab a 20, crumple it beyond to where you can't even see what it is, and put it back in the bowl. Yeah. And people would be like, "You've only made like $1." I'm like, "No one has to tip me."
Yeah.
And then they'd throw another 10 in or something like that, and I would just keep it like.
Man, that is a serious hustle.
But I mean, it's one of those things that like at 18, 19, when you're kind of figuring out who you are and all this kind of stuff, to work in such a very seedy, shitty environment,
Yep.
I think a lot of people should work in something like that because it either is going to tells you more about who you are, because if you're a shitty fucking person, either it's going to bring it out in you, or if you at least have some moral character, it's also going to bring that out in you as well, very quickly.
Yeah, I feel that's why New York City, people who grew up in New York, is like you have to have so much self-awareness of your surroundings. I feel like people in New York City are always aware of everything that's going on, and you develop a sixth sense about all the people around you in a room at any given time, because there's just always weird shit in New York. And although New York has gotten softer, but it's still, it still has that element about it in certain neighborhoods. But yeah, I'm excited about this weekend. I think it's going to be a fun weekend, and I'm excited to watch Henry Rollins. I'm excited to see Dice tomorrow. I'm excited to see System of a Down. There's a lot of friends here that are performing. I'm really excited to see. So,
do you know what Tom Morello's doing in the spoken word thing?
He's doing a spoken word thing, and
just a Q&A storytelling.
I think it's spoken word. As far as I know, it's
so
spoken
it's like more
word.
Rollins-esque.
It's more like Rollins-esque. Yeah, everyone tonight that's going to be on that stage are all spoken word people that I saw. So, yeah.
What who are you most excited to see here tonight, or over the festival as a whole?
Probably System, because I'm a huge System of a Down fan, and they happen to be huge fans of mine. I opened for System of a Down a few years ago. I happened to be on the East Coast for something, and John Dolmayan, the drummer of System, texted me and said, "Hey, where are you?" And I said, "Hey, dude, I'm in New York." And he said, "What are you doing on," I think it was like a Friday night. And I go, I don't know why. You need, I made some kind of joke about what he needed, and he said, "We want you to be our opening act in Toronto at the Molson Amphitheater." And I was like, "Sure." And he was like, "Yeah, we don't have an opening act at the Molson Amphitheater." And we were all like sitting around talking about who we could get for just one show. And then someone just said, "How funny it would be if we got Craig to show up?" And it was like, fuck, I would love to. And so talked to the promoter, and they made the arrangements, and I went up and I got to open for System. But I just love those guys, and they're so cool live. They're just such an original band. Disturbed, the Struts. I've opened for the Struts a few times over the last 2 years. Love the Struts. So I'm excited to see. I'm sorry I interrupted you. What was the question?
I was going to say, did you see the David Draymond lookalike that got posted? I think yesterday?
I did. I saw Dave post that. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, and but yeah, it's just gonna be a fun weekend. It's a great lineup this weekend. So some really killer bands. So I'm excited.
Awesome. And what does the rest of 2019 hold for you?
2019 is going to be I'm doing a lot of voiceover stuff. I started doing stuff with Family Guy and American Dad a few years ago. Now I'm starting to do some Disney, potentially some Disney stuff. I've been auditioning for a lot of Disney stuff lately, and there's just a lot of there's going to be a lot more TV work this year, and I'm excited about that. And I have a really cool idea for a comedy special that I'm going to film that's very rock themed. So
here's my absolute last question, just because you brought up the comedy special thing.
Sure.
Do you feel with Netflix, with all the streaming apps, every avenue now that there is for something, do you feel that the comedy special in name has kind of been devalued?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, it's like a guy with a microphone shot the same way because they have the same producer for, like, I think HBO, all the production people on HBO, it's like almost every single one, it's been uniform. The same people are setting those shows up, the same camera people, the same producers, same directors. So all the shows end up looking the same. And the specials, I think it was Chris Rock who said, they don't put out specials anymore, they just put out averages. It's not special, it's just kind of average, and someone needs to change that fucking thing up. And I love what Jeff Ross did, where Jeff Ross went and just talked to prisoners. Then he went to the border wall and roasted the wall. And I love just doing anything that's just different, that's outside the box. And the comedy special that I filmed, it's called The Worst Comedy Show Ever. And I have some cameos in there from some of the guys in Alice in Chains or on the seedy version. Mike McCready from Pearl Jam's on the video version, and I'm constantly wanting to do things that are outside the box. So
awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time, and looking forward to your set tomorrow.
Yeah, man.
And maybe bump around at some point, maybe.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.